Welcome to A Bit Much with T.W. Clausen. I'm T.W. Clausen, and today's episode is the third try that I have made to do this episode. Let's pump up the energy, huh? Let's do a little get some movement going, y'all. I'm very excited today. But I have to admit, I've been dealing with one of the most stressful situations I've ever had in my entire life. And it was with 3 different agencies of postal services. And I'm not going to name anybody by any names, but, you know, if there is a united company of people that are delivering postage, then their services are shit. But the person who I worked with at the customer service counter that I had to drive to go pick up my package because they refused to deliver my package, she was really nice. I really liked her a lot. She and I started talking after I got my package, and this is the package right here, by the way, right here. And that looks real good, y'all. That looks real good. Anyway, I'll show you that later. Chill out, man. She and I were talking, and I was telling her what this is, and she got really excited about the book series because it's the Penny Lynch Volume 3, and she started asking about Volume 1, Volume 2, and I told her that they were out, and she was on my website as I left. The place of many gathered postal people together, and she was getting ready to order my book. At least that's what it looked like. She did a really good job of making me feel good if she never buys my book, but I hope she does. And she has my phone number because it's in the system, because they had to call me because I made so many complaints. So she's going to call me at some point when she has my book for me to sign those copies of the book, which is really cool. So that's fun. So we're here. Let's get into this. I got a weird pocket on a plain shirt. I got 2 of them now. It's going to be my thing. Walking down the street in a weird, in a cool pocketed t-shirt. I think today one of the things that I have to work on, and this was very apparent to me in the last couple of days, is being more patient. Learning to wait and not have things go on my time, my speed. Instead, I need to learn how to work with the world. And you know what's weird is I always assumed that I was good at that from things like, I don't know, my parents getting divorced when I was a child and having to learn how to go between parents and then being taken over across the United States. That almost sounded like I was taken over by someone. I realized that like this was about to get turned into like a sci-fi sort of story. Like, I was 7 years old when my parents divorced, and then the demons entered my body, but they were expelled by the aliens that took over my body. There's no aliens in my body anymore. No, I was taken over to the East Coast. I lived over there for a few years, came back, and, just had the most tumultuous life between those 2 parents, trying to find my grounding and a home. But we don't have to get into that. This isn't my therapy session. This is a newsletter, you guys. This is supposed to help me sell books and get new audience members so that they can buy books. So buy a book, because my parents divorced when I was a child, and also because it quiets the demons and aliens in my head. But yeah, like my whole life, I just assumed that I was good at dealing with stressful situations because I felt like I was always in stressful situations. But I think, ironically, the opposite is what happened. Is like, because of all those things, I never felt a sense of security, and so now when things don't go my way, I start to freak out. Right, I start to feel like I'm on loose ground, and I have to control the situation. And that has been a huge revelation to figure out in my life. I deal with it in work, my relationship with my wife. I want to make sure I don't necessarily do that with my kid. So Alistair, if you're watching this in the future and I am an asshole and a tyrant, just show me this video and I'll probably be like, that douchebag doesn't know anything. So get back to work. Which, I mean, he's your dad, so you got to listen to him. That's what the Bible says. And just in trying to run my own company and publish my own books, I got to a point where I decided I'm going to publish my own books because nobody else would. And nobody else would publish my books because they were awful. They were just the worst, man. And so there was a need for me to slow down and chill out and realize that what I'm doing requires somebody else's time. It requires a sense of understanding that other people are involved and what they're thinking and feeling are just as important. Like, wow, this book that this person is querying to me is horse manure. And they seriously thought that they were going to send me this and I was going to read it and go, my God, it's the next insert generic fantasy author. Whoever you like the most, insert their name here. My God, it's the next. Did you say their name? Did you say when I open my mouth, you say their name out loud. I don't care if you're at your office or out in the park or you're driving, you say a name or else. Oh, you know what? I should be more patient about this situation and not force people to say things while they're watching my videos, huh? Well, all right. If you feel like it, say a name. Wow. This person wrote this thing and oh my God, they're the next. You and I both know what just happened. We both know what just happened. Okay. So I was like, screw them. What do people in the publishing industry know about books nowadays? They're so full of themselves. They have no idea what's good. Just because they read books every day and they edit, publish books every day, and they got a degree in publishing and English, and they know how to spell science without looking it up, or even the word patience, which I'm 90% sure I'm going to have to look up when I'm writing the thumbnail for this thing, and I'll probably get it wrong. They don't know what they're talking about. I wrote a good book, okay? And I did it, so you need to give me money now. That's how this works. I put letters in a sequential order onto a paper, and you give me money. Nobody wanted to do that, so I decided I would do it myself. I'm not necessarily against what I've done with the Penny Lich. I do still feel like that is a good endeavor. Having deadlines and having people, even if it's like 2 or 3 people, who tell me they like my work, encourages me to continue to write. If I was just doing it in a void, it'd be really, really hard for me to achieve any success. Having someone like my editor, Paul Davis, who is a wonderful editor and is looking for new clients, if you're looking for a new editor, teaches me so much about how to be a better author, a better writer. Things as substantial as, hey, moron, you said this in your last story, and that 100% contradicts how this character would act in this story, so you need to change that, to something minuscule, like you need to stop using commas for every single dialogue and then tag. And so having the deadlines, having people who like reading my work, who can deal with the fact that I'm not the greatest writer in the world as I'm learning and trying to get there, is huge. And having someone who will partner with me to help me cultivate a better energy, a better, product, ability to produce, that's what I need. I'm not saying that the pennilage has been a mistake. I'm saying that maybe I could have been more patient before I started this, and maybe I could have started it a long time ago, because I was so wrapped up in this idea that if I just write the book, I'm going to become famous and rich, and I'm going to become the best. And I didn't really think about putting in effort afterward. Just write the next book, and I'll put the effort into the next book. And then after that, I'm going to put it into another book, because I write books. Okay, I don't sell books. I don't promote books or market books. I write books. And I don't read books because I'm too busy writing books. I'm a writer, not a reader. And I was really impatient about the process of getting my work out into the world. And that caused me to make a pretty big mistake that I'm going to have to live with for the rest of my life, which is that there are copies of the epic fantasy story that I've been working on for 10 years that, as of right now, officially I haven't written a single bleeping word of it, because I thought I wrote it. I thought I wrote a perfect fantasy story, or the beginning of one, because it was going to be the first of a trilogy, and that trilogy was going to be the first trilogy in a trilogy of trilogies. That's 9 books, y'all. I was a genius, as long as nobody read the terrible grammar problems and story development, and also narrative devices that didn't exist, also just meandering through nothingness and muck. That was, as long as you didn't pay attention to those, perfect fantasy story. It was when I started to meet other authors and read some of their work, and I'm not going to talk about anyone specifically. There was a lot of different places where I started to meet a lot of different people, because I was like, I'm an author now. I need to go talk to other authors. And I did. And I picked up a few books and I read them, and I thought, oh, these are awful. These are really, really bad. And I need to not be one of these people. So I read some books, a couple of Wheel of Time books. I started Between Lewis and Lovecraft. Hannah started to really coach me on a lot of stuff, because she is a great writer, and I'm hoping one day maybe everyone will know that. And read On Writing by Stephen King. And when I started to really have a critical eye on my work and comparing it to some of the greatest writers ever and some of the most amateurish writers ever, I could clearly see which side of the line my work landed on. And I had to be more humble, and I had to be modest, and I had to be honest with myself and go, great, this is where I'm at. Let's get better. I know I've talked about this before, but this is my whole thing right now. This is why I do the Penny Lich. Because every single time I finish a story, I can look back at the previous 3 and go, man, this is so much better than the last 3 stories I wrote. And then it happens again. I finish the next one, and the last one I wrote, I'm like, God, this is awful. But it's progress, and the story is fun. Like I think that I am a fairly good writer when it comes to telling a fun story, but there's lessons I have to learn along the way, and one of them is being more patient in publishing. You know, I've set these deadlines for myself because I want to finish. I want to have something in a specific time period that I can point to. I think once that happens, once volume 4 of the Penny Lich comes out, that'll finish the first season of this book series, this short story series. And I will then be able to point to it and say, I did this. And I did it in a specific amount of time. I pushed myself to do it. And it was hard, but I did it. Then I think I'll be able to relax a little bit more, because I'll feel validated as an author, because I'll feel like I can finally get to a place where I can really say that I belong at the table. And I do. I know I do. I've written enough, and I've heard enough from people that I truly believe that I belong at the table. And that's really hard for me to say. Because I also don't trust people when they talk about how good something is. I've picked up a book that I could tell within the first 3 sentences was a bad book. And I read the first chapter of it out loud to my wife. And I never even said it was a bad book. I just read it while she was sitting with my son so my son's in the bathtub. She's in the bathroom with him, watching him, because that's what you do when you're a parent. You sit around and do nothing all the time, every day, to make sure your baby doesn't die. And I grabbed this book and I just started reading it. And she was in awe of how bad this book was. And by the time we finished the first chapter, we were giggling and laughing because we couldn't believe it. We couldn't believe that it was just that awful. And then I pointed out to her that this book has over 1,000 reviews on Amazon. And the author has written 9 books in the series. Not to mention has also written in a series that is very popular in the fantasy world. Maybe not very popular. Maybe it's more popular in my head because of some of the subject matter, but it's well known. It is well known for sure. This person has written a terrible book, and there's 1,000 people that have read it and gone, man, this is such a good book. Your writing is so good. The story is so good. And I'm starting to feel like a crazy person because I'm like, no, it's not. It's not good. And I worry so much. That that's what's happening when people tell me they like my book. I don't know at what point it's going to be when I can accept that people like my book. I know that I'm never going to be perfect. I know that I'm always going to have problems with what's being published. But that's how you get better, right? I know that that's the mindset. But I also know it's unhealthy to not find some sort of foundation to stand on, to say, I am good. I am a good writer. And at the very least, once I finish these 4 volumes, I can say I'm a good writer because I finished these 4 volumes. Maybe that just makes me a good publisher. I don't know, but I don't think that's true either, because there's things that could be fixed. Maybe it's when I make $1 million off of my books. I don't know. I don't know where that validation is going to come from. And I know I'm going to get flack from people who watch this and they're going to text me and be like, "You're a good writer. Stop talking bad about yourself." And I get it, but it's where my mind is. I have a very hard time trusting that. And I'm not looking for people to tell me that it's good because they feel bad, because they're hearing me say this. What I'm looking for is that defining line for myself, is to be patient with myself. It's going to take time for me to become a great writer. It's going to take time for me to be at a level where I trust when people say that they love my book, that they like the story, that they love the characters, that they're not just bullshitting me. I have to be patient and go, you can believe them. It's okay, man. You can just let yourself believe it. So that's where I'm at. This has been a roller coaster. I don't know. This whole week has been weird, but I'm very, very excited about a lot of things that are happening, that are gonna happen. And I know that I am producing something that I personally am proud of. I'll end that there. Even if nobody else in the world, 0 people like my work, I can write something that makes me giggle. And there have been times where I have giggled my ass off. I've giggled it all up. I've just gone giggly with giggles. I'm trying to make it fun with the word giggle, but giggle's already a fun word, so I don't have to do much. Giggle. I'm proud of my work. I like it. And you know what I really like is the art for this book, is the cover for this book. So let's go to the cover reveal.
He will tear your city down. Olay, olay, Lord. Olay, 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 oh Lord. He will tear your city down. Olay, olay, olay.
I have no idea what I was planning on doing right there, so whatever I did, no idea. I could literally just be cutting to this part right here, but yeah. So this is volume 3 right here. That's it. Volume 3 of the Penny Lich. And by the time this video comes out, I'm hoping to make sure that the book is available. I had it set for a specific date, but I don't need to do that. I can just make it available for people. But yeah, this is it. We got good old Hadvar over here. And then we got Gwen, one of my favorite characters. There. She's hanging out down there. And then you got good old Gramander coming up through the lettering there. Huh? It's pretty dope. And then who's that? That's a picture of a person. I wonder how important she is. I guess you'll just have to read the book. Just have to watch that and then read the book. It's pretty fun. You know, I've got it's the same artwork on the inside. It's pretty copy and paste as far as all that goes, because time crunch and simplicity. Consistency is what we like to call it in the game. So that's it. That's the Penny Lich. I'm really hoping it's going to be available for you. Volume 3. If you haven't checked out volumes 1 and 2, I highly recommend that you do that. This is a serial short story series. So you want to read them in order. It's not an anthology. It's not like Black Mirror or anything like that. It's short stories. It's a sitcom. Start with 1. You read through now 9. I did the math. I did the math right. I did the math right. And that's a great place to move over to. I've been trying to get this book available and ready at the Canby Arts Association's Through the Looking Glass Art and Literature Festival. I got all that right, so kudos for me. We should celebrate. How can we celebrate? Oh, I don't know. Go buy a new book or come down to the festival. It's on July 22nd from 9 a.m. to 6 p.m. At Canby, Oregon Waite Park. If you're in Oregon, or heck, if you're not in Oregon, come on down to Oregon. Come on down to Canby, Oregon, where nobody talks like this because we're on the West Coast. And come hang out. There's going to be a ton of cool people there. Lots of booths full of art and books. Last year was really cool. They actually had someone like dressed up as Alice from Alice in Wonderland. I feel like maybe there was a bunny running around. Maybe that was just in my dreams or nightmares. I feel like it was a nightmare. I feel like I remember it now. It was a nightmare. I was being chased by a bunny through a field of books. And not like a person in a bunny suit. Just a little bunny. Just a little baby little bunny rabbit thing. So that won't be there. My nightmares won't be there. Lots of fun and food and cool people selling cool things, showing off their art. And I'm going to be one of them. I'm going to have quite a few copies of the first volume and the second volume. I'm trying really hard to have copies of the third. I've got my proof copies, so maybe I'll sell those. They're not the most perfect, but maybe the buyers will show some patience with that. We'll see. We'll see how that goes. I'm gonna kind of leave it up to the Lord. And I said that as if I'm being sarcastic, but actually that's something I actually texted my wife earlier, is that I'm gonna just leave it up to God. And that's me just saying, yeah, whatever happens, happens, right? Super Icelandic take on the situation. It'll all work out. And so that's really fun. I'm really excited about that. Also, my last episode, I was talking about Blight at the Museum, which is the one-shot 3-part series from Unbalanced Encounters, the podcast that I was a guest on. Highly recommend you go check that out because the second episode is out. The third will be out soon. And their Patreon, because you can only get it through the Patreon, but every tier gets you a listen to those. Like, you can listen to all of their extra stuff, even if you're at the lowest tier. Plus, they have free subscriptions, free trial subscriptions. So you can actually get a free week, I believe, 7 days on their Patreon account. And so that gives you access immediately for free to the first 2 episodes of Blight at the Museum. So if you'd like to check out me playing Dungeons and Dragons, being a fun roguish type character in a terrifying game, and you get to hear me freak out a lot, you should definitely check out Blight at the Museum. I'm a big fan of how it turned out, big fan of everybody over at Unbalanced Encounters, and very excited for them and to see them grow a little bit more. If you could do me a favor, I am trying to build my social media a little bit more. I have, maybe around a couple hundred followers on Instagram, if that. I have a little over 100 followers on TikTok. And these are sites that allow people like myself, creatives, to kind of share their work in a quicker fashion than me doing this once a month at this point. It gives me a place to share some of these clips from these videos, and having more followers there would really benefit me and the work that I'm doing. So I just want to throw out there that if you are interested in hanging out with me on social media, check me out. I will have my links in the description below. And I would hope that you would share me share your me with your friends. I was about to go the opposite direction with that, is what happened. Is I wasn't thinking about the sentence as I said it. I was about to say, share your friends with me. But that's not, I don't want you to share your friends with me. I want you to share me with your friends. Consider me the Kit Kat of your social media, where you get a piece and somebody else gets a piece. And by that, I mean you tell them to go follow me and watch my stuff so that I can get more followers and stuff. Just going to interrupt myself from like 30 seconds before. And we got to thank all of our patrons, my patrons. And since I'm talking about people following me, you should go get people to sign up for my Patreon, because ultimately the idea is for me to produce more of these, right? And so if I do that, if you go and sign up for my Patreon and get other people to sign up for my Patreon, then I can then do this full time. Like, I can get more of them out there. And trust me, I have more. I've got a trilogy of trilogies, bro. And so now I'm going to freeze, and I'm going to do the thing that I always do as a little bit. So that's going to become a thing now that I'm going to do. And I'm just going to... Okay, back to the action. And, as soon as I figure out a good way to do it, I'll try to do a little contest. A little contest to see how many people we can get to follow me. That's a really weird thing to say, to be completely honest, to be like, hey, you should. It's a very Jesus phrase, and I'm not entirely comfortable with it because it makes me feel like I'm starting a cult. So start thinking of names for our cult and send your friends over to follow me. Okay, bye.